For our guest today, we have Ms. Valerie Senegal. She is the education coordinator for the nonprofit organization Hearts of Hope here in the Lafayette area. And she's here today to share with you information about the types of programs that she's over. And let's get right into it. Ms. Valerie, how are you doing today?
I am good. How about you?
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good.
Wonderful.
So tell me, what's going on over there at the Hearts of Hope organization?
We have so many things going on right now, but just to give you a little bit of information about our agency. We are the agency in Acadiana that works alongside of both law enforcement as well as the 15th and the 16th Judicial District Court system to handle all of the sexual abuse cases. That's also children cases as well. So every day you will find law enforcement, Louisiana DCFS services, all of the social workers coming by our offices working on cases. We have that through our Children's Advocacy Center. I am the education coordinator over the Sexual Abuse Response Center. That
Okay.
is where we house all of our education programs to try to
Okay.
prevent this. That's where you win the war, through prevention.
Through prevention.
So I am the woman who is always at the school board offices.
Okay.
I work with 5 different school board systems to administer and implement sexual abuse behavior prevention programs to the little children as small as in pre-K, kindergarten, all the way up to our 12th grade seniors.
Okay.
And these curricula have been implemented for decades now.
Okay.
And we travel throughout the Acadiana area. So that's all the way down from St. Mary all the way up to Lafayette area. We have a large coverage area. And we also do a lot of work with our college campuses.
Okay.
Because, no one's immune from being sexually abused.
Right.
Not even men. And so we do a lot of advocacy awareness campaigns on our college campuses to try and decrease the number of sexual violence incidences that occur year to year.
Okay.
And unfortunately, we have our hands full, because sexual violence is something that's very vague. It has so many indicators within it. It can be verbally, non-verbally, it is physical. Many times victims don't report until after. And a lot of times, children won't disclose. And a lot of times their leaders, the teachers, the counselors, the people who they interact with on a day-to-day basis don't pick up those indicators.
Okay.
So you have children who grow up and they are experiencing this trauma and they never get the necessary help and attention that they need.
Okay.
Here in Louisiana, we have to report if we find some type of indicators or a child discloses.
Mm-hmm.
There's no choice in that. That's to protect our children. But adults, of course, have that option. They can file a police report or they don't have to, and we can't force them to. So that's why the numbers never really give a good picture with how prevalent this issue is in our community. So I wear that prevention hat. I try my best to win this war by educating our children, trying to get them to see that this is happening in the community, in our families, and we have got to take a stand against it. We have to realize that this is affecting our future. This is one of the leading adverse childhood experiences that little kids go through, and now is the time to really take the proactive approach towards decreasing that level of violence in our community if we're going to ever win this war.
So by working with the several parishes school boards, trying to get them involved in it to say, make contact with the children, give them an opportunity to, you can show your trust or build that relationship with them that they won't be afraid to come to you.
Right.
Okay. And just about how many cases a month does this organization handle?
Well, every day
Every day.
we have at least one child being escorted through the doors.
My goodness.
And for the 2016 year, That's up until now, August.
Mhm.
That number has been over 250 children.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, well, we're not even finished.
Not
So,
even-
you know, we're halfway through the year and the number is very high. Me, as a mother of 3 children myself, I say that number should be 0 every
Right,
year.
right.
But the reality is that's just not the case.
Yeah, yeah.
And we are taking a lot of proactive measurements. We do work collectively with the Safe Environment Program through the Catholic Diocese to try and address that issue as well. And a lot of success. People do recognize that they need this education.
Well, I tell you what, we're going to stop right here for this first segment, and we'll catch up with what Ms. Val is saying when we get back. Thank you. Bye-bye. We are back with Miss Valerie Senegal, and she's hopefully will pick up where she left off. And Miss Val, it's on you.
Okay. Well, where I left off was the partnership that we have with the Catholic Diocese. They implement a program called Safe Environment, and that is to address solely prevention of sexual abuse amongst children.
Okay.
So we partner with them to provide the necessary mandated reporter training to all of the teachers, faculty, staff who work with children in the Catholic schools, in some of the residence halls. We train them every year to watch for the indicators, to know how to properly report, and how to provide referrals and follow-up. And we have good success with that program. Of course, things happen because the nature of sexual violence is one that is so sensitive. You know, we don't speak on it.
Yeah, well, we're kind of afraid, and but when you go through some of these classes, how long does some of these classes last to teach these individuals on what to look out for?
Well, the classes, of course, it's all about what content needs to be thoroughly discussed. So that could be from an hour to 3 hours in length, with a few
Okay.
breaks in there. But afterwards, all mandated reporters, which are basically people who work with children,
Okay.
they know how to identify it and they know how to accurately report.
Well, that seems that's a good start.
Yes, that is. Because you know, people don't like to address something so sensitive as this subject. Physical abuse, if a child's being physically abused, well, they're more inclined to step in and do something. But if a child is being sexually abused,
Yes.
that's where people just kind of, you know, freeze up. They don't know, should I address this? Should I not? Is this my place?
Well, I think what's happening too, we are also in an environment where people are willing to go through the courts,
Right,
and a lot of people don't want to put themselves in that position.
that's true.
And so it's should I, should I not? But if it's physical, you can see it. Sexual, you can't. And you got to have proof when you go start making an accusation.
Right.
Okay.
And that's one thing that we do cover. You know, I let all persons in these training sessions know that when you make a report, all you're doing is saying that you have a suspicion or that this child came to you and they disclosed something's happening at home or at the aunt's house, uncle's house.
Right.
And you're taking the necessary step to inform social services or law enforcement that they need to look into this. It's not an accusation. It's merely just acting upon your suspicion or your disclosure. And if nothing's found, then that person's not held accountable.
Okay.
They're
okay.
just acting in good faith.
Now, the person that does come forth and put a possible claim in action, do they remain anonymous?
They can ask to remain anonymous. And the tricky situation if I can just speak candorously, is when a child is in a very, very restricted environment. Of course, children who go to school with thousands of other kids, well, that's not too restricted. I mean, anyone could have made the report, from the principal to the counselors to the many teachers. Where it gets very sticky for that mandated reporter is when that child is very limited on the adults that they are interacting with. I had one gentleman, he works with children in a particular camp that sees these children, and many of these kids are homeschooled actually. So he said, you know, Ms. Senegal, for me, if I make that report, that parent knows it's me who made that report. And I do see where that gets a little tricky and where a lot of reservations would come in for making that report. But like I told that gentleman, I said, sexual abuse for a child is a very, very traumatic experience. It leads to a lot of mental and cognitive adverse effects in their adult life. It leads to a lot of social disorders. A lot of people experience substance use and abuse in their adult life. A lot of them have poor coping mechanisms when they're faced with adversity. And it leads to a lot of divorce rates, a lot of trust issues. And so you think about all that when you sit down with a psychologist, which I'm not, but and bless their hearts that they can do that level of work. There's so much that a person endures because they never got the help when they experienced this as a child. And I let him know that you would help this child in their adulthood because you're taking the necessary steps right now to get the help that that child needs to be on the right path.
Well, let's end the second segment. I'm sorry to stop you.
No.
We'll come right back and continue with what she has to say. We're back with Ms. Val Senegal, and she is here to share with us information, and hopefully she can pick up where she left off.
Yes, it is very, very tricky, you know, to report whenever a child is in a very, very restricted environment. But like I tell folks all the time, you have to be the champion for that kid. You might be the hero. You may be the person who actually saves their life. And I always think myself, if I don't do something about this, and this is happening to this child, and a lot of times that leads to suicide attempts, it leads to homicides because the children get tired of it. And children nowadays, we have such a gun violence problem that's going on. And these problems are not just problems that occur randomly. It's always led by something else. Something else was the precursor to it.
Well, do you think that, the consensus has always been, at least when I was growing up, that if you find a gentleman or a young lady, whatever, that acts out, whether it's violently or sexually or mentally or whatever, usually they come from a family.
That's right.
So in other words, it's more like inbred in them.
That's right. That's
and
right.
so you find that there are more cases from people who have already been abused themselves.
That's right.
And that says, this is the way.
Absolutely.
You have to be trained.
Absolutely.
You know?
I can't tell you how many times a child has come to the center and then the mother will say to one of the counselors or to myself or to one of the interviewers, this happened to me too.
Yeah.
This happened to my mother. We just don't speak about that. And you know what? I got through it. I'm okay. But then when you look at mother's personal life, mother really didn't get through it. She thought she's coped with it, but she hasn't.
Within your organization, do you help them with housing, take them out of that environment?
With
for a while until.
With the children, that is left up to DCFS, Department of Children and Family Services. Our Louisiana social workers are the ones who make that call. We solely provide the neutral location where law enforcement and the social service agent can sit down in a room behind closed doors and discuss the nature of the case. And the interviewer, the forensic interviewer that we provide, is the one who asks the questions to the child and gets the details of that case for court proceedings.
Okay. So something, is that similar to what the organization CASA
CASA provides
that deals with the court?
It does. It
And
does
with the
deal with the
child.
court. Very similar. We do work with CASA. CASA provides the advocates in the courtroom.
Okay.
We're providing the forensic interviewer who will ask the questions at our location versus the child having to go to a very intimidating law enforcement facility and sit down across the table from a man with a badge and a gun.
Yes,
They
yes.
will be very reluctant to tell their story versus if they come to our center where there's beautiful murals on the wall and very comfortable atmosphere.
What I find in our society, majority of the time, it's much easier to believe a beautiful lie than the ugly truth.
That's right.
And we don't want to face the truth a lot of times.
That's right.
So I believe that organizations such as yourself, and with this organization that you represent, that you're bringing to the table, and let people know. But as long as people know where they can go, okay, you are a resource,
Right.
and knowing that they can come to you or report to you, however, that they will feel safe that you will lead them on the right path.
Right, because we're neutral. We
Right.
are not DCFS. We are not law enforcement. We are the neutral people who are solely dedicated to that client, making sure their well-being is made.
Right. I also know that as far as different organizations that are out there are many. And every time I run across an organization, I usually ask this question. Does the public really know about you? Because a lot of times organizations such as yourself has no budget for advertisement or put it out there. You have to rely on individual contacts or groups or whatever. But the public is not even aware you even exist,
Right.
So I'm glad that you took the opportunity to do an interview with me
Yes.
to bring that to the table.
I'm glad you had me.
Okay, and it's just the idea that whatever we can do, we need to do it together.
Right.
And a lot of people out there believe, oh, they can do it on their own. Well, I got news for you. No man is an island. Okay.
I agree with you.
You need help.
That
okay?
is true.
So by joining with each other and networking with each other, we can go a long way.
Absolutely.
And I know that there are programs that you have that really makes a difference, okay, in the children's life or even in the family's life. Now, even though this is for veterans as well as the public, this, I'm sorry to say this is going to end the show, the third segment. So, but I'm sure she will be back with us in the future. So, Ms. Val,
Thank
nice
you.
having you on board.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, thank
I
you.
enjoyed it.
Bye-bye.